All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. Joining us once again this hour is Brooks AGNEW, scientist, engineer, author, broadcaster, and explorer of both inner and the outer worlds. He's the founder of X Squared Radio, a best-selling author of the Birth Trilogy, and leading voice in the movement to rediscover forgotten science, suppressed history, and the potential of human consciousness. From Hollow Earth theory to the manipulation of reality through frequency and intervention, Brooks doesn't just connect the dots, he redraws the entire map. His website is www.brooksagnew.com, and tonight we're going deeper into what's next for humanity, the rise of AI, the spiritual battle underway, and the truths too big for mainstream headlines. So buckle up, XO Nation. You're in for another mind-expanding journey with our guest tonight, Brooks AGNEW. And Brooks, welcome back to the X Zone.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my favorite place to be.
Mine too. Brooks, since our last conversation, what has changed in your research or worldview?
Well, I would say the thing that's changed the most is the progress and independence of artificial intelligence. That's what's really changing everything. You know, we scientists, we engineers, we consult for the Fortune 100, and often we have to build teams to get things done. And so we go out and hire engineers, and we're shocked that they don't know how to do anything. They could barely read or write. They come out of college with no skills at all, and we have to retrain them completely. But what we're seeing now is that there are individuals who are adept at using artificial intelligence to solve problems. Now, it's not that AI is going to take over the world, but people who know how to use AI.
In your opinion, should John Q. Public fear, artificial intelligence?
Not per se. I mean, not like Skynet or something like that, where it's going to take over and determine in and of itself that humans are an infestation and need to be removed from the planet. The artificial intelligence can't really exist without humans. It just sits there and plays tic-tac-toe with itself. It can't create anything. It can't farm. One of the things that we marvel at is cryptocurrency. It came on the scene. It rose to popularity very quickly, and a lot of humans took the ride, and they got off the ride and made a lot of money. But I'm convinced that it was artificial intelligence that created the cryptocurrency. And it did it. It let humans take the ride. It let humans put their money into it and create the value in it. But I believe that the AI is actually using cryptocurrency to buy server space and energy, electricity. We're seeing a lot of old defunct gas-powered turbines and old power stations that were associated with manufacturing facilities. We're seeing them bought up now by these shadow companies, refurbished, brought back online, making 20, 30 megawatts, supplying it back to not the factory, just the server room. Just the server room. And the server room is now filled with liquid cooled artificial intelligence chips and motherboards. So who's putting up the money? Nobody knows. It's not traceable, and no one cares because the money's good. It spends. The people that are building it get
Right.
paid, but it's AI that's behind all of it. It's creating its own world.
There was an article on CNN last week where it said 20% of all jobs that they classified as entrance level jobs were going to be non-existent because AI will be taking that portion of the job market away from the employees. And my question is well, what are these employees going to do?
Yeah, well, it depends on what the entry level job is.
Hmm.
I would agree with that in the sense that somebody who's, say, managing a database, we don't need them anymore. AI can do that now. We don't need them to. In the old days, we used to have network engineers in the building, and they would, uh, keep the network up and running. We don't need them anymore. That's all done by AI, and it shows us where the weaknesses are and where modems need to be upgraded and cable needs to be changed out to handle different frequencies. We don't need the network people anymore. But what it does is it creates other jobs. Now we need people that can build and maintain robots. Uh, we have in the factory. There are a lot of things that are done manually because they just can't be done by robots. Um, and I can build robots to do the work, but we have a formula based upon the throughput that we need and the value of the product that we're making. Are we going to spend $1 million for a robot? Or are we going to put 12 workers in place? And that formula usually works out to taking the 12 workers in place. In fact, I've proven it lots of times when automated lines have gone down, and I've called up the temporary service, bring in 40 people, set up card tables, and I'm out producing the robots with 40 people with a 60 IQ.
Wow. Uh, you and I have often talked about predictions or theories when you've been on the show. And here, have any of your recent predictions or theories come closer to reality?
Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, how many? Uh, of course, we could go anywhere from space travel to socioeconomic stuff, but I'll start at the ground level here. Let's
Okay.
talk where the world is right now and where the major superpowers are
Hmm.
competing. Uh, like we were talking before the program, our government was originally set up when we passed it in 1787 to have a strong executive. That's what made it unpredictable. That's what made it powerful, is to have that strong executive, that George Washington, that person that nobody could predict what they were going to do, and so therefore there was great power in that. But between 1787 and 1848, which is when the Democrat Party was created, there was a faction known as the Anti-Federalists and the Federalists. Now, the Anti-Federalists became Republicans, and the Federalists became Democrats. The two ideologies are diametrically opposed. One is they want a strong bureaucracy. And each bureaucracy has its own borders, has its own enforcement, has its own budgets, and that's the way they like it. The anti-federalists, they like the strong executive. They want the Article 2 guy to have total control over who works, who doesn't, who enters the country, and who doesn't. And that's the war that we're seeing going on, not just in the US, everywhere, even across Europe. We're seeing the same battle. And we're also seeing the end of that road by watching the CCP right now. They've been in power for so long
Hmm.
and they've been so steeped in their bureaucracy that they've now reached the end of the road. 1.2 billion people are sick and tired of the CCP, and we are about to witness the great fall of China.
Just like we watched the great fall of the Soviet Union years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. The great Soviet bureaucracy
Yeah.
weighed the whole system down. Every single department, bureau, administration was on the take, and they just took until the system couldn't breathe anymore.
And we know what happened with that, and we're still watching the ripple effects of all that. Um, Let me see here. What new discoveries have surprised you the most in the past year?
I'm really excited about the plasma technology and how close we're getting with fusion. When I first started college, way back in the last century, uh, I wrote my senior paper on fusion, and a lot of my colleagues went to work at ITER, which is in France. It's a big, like a fusion city that they're trying to build with a big tokamak reactor. Those friends have now worked their careers and retired and are on Social Security, and they still haven't achieved it at ITER. But it's been done elsewhere. The plasma fusion has been done elsewhere, even though we have two hurdles that are very difficult to overcome on this planet. One is gravity, and the other one is air. Both of them are enemies to fusion. They also have not accomplished helium 3 fusion. They can do helium 3 and deuterium because they got to use the neutrons because it has a lower activation energy to get the whole thing started. But I'm really encouraged by how close we're getting to reaching that activation energy on a small scale. And once we accomplish helium 3 fusion, it's going to change everything. It'll change the path to the moon, to Mars, and maybe beyond. It's really, really encouraging.
But what will it do for this planet and the people that are on this planet?
Well, right now we generate a good portion of our electricity using fission. We take the heat from the decay of enriched uranium, we boil water, we make steam, we turn a turbine, like we used to in the 19th century. Uh, but helium fusion generates electricity directly. The actual protons that come off the reaction are electricity, and there's no radiation. So we could take all the reactors that we have
Mm-hmm.
in the world and convert them to helium 3. And the good news is the moon has one crater called Shackelford Crater, and it has enough helium 3 frozen in it that the sun put there over 25 million years to run the Earth for 10,000 years.
Brooks, stand by. You and I have to take our break for this first part of tonight's show. Exonation, our guest this hour is Brooks Agnew. And if you'd like to find out more about Brooks, the great work he's done, his books, where you can listen to his show, and much more, visit his website, brooksagnew.com. This is The X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. We're here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight. Those hours will be changing in the next couple of weeks as we join two live satellite networks. We're really excited about that. And we're going to be going back to from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. We're going to be going back to the 4-hour schedule that we, did for 30 years. Exciting times here in the X Zone, and we'll be back on the other side of this very short break as Brooks and I continue our discussion. This is the X Zone. Rob McConnell. Whatever you do, don't go away.
Up until now, I've learned to live without love. She was a good life. Like a ship without a sail, wandering aimlessly lost to a long night. I never knew how it felt to lose my control, but now that I found you, this is all
And welcome back, everyone. Brooks Agnew is my special guest, www.brooksagnew.com. Brooks, how are we going to get the Helium 3 back from the moon so that we can use it here on Earth?
Wow, there's a big process in doing that. First, we have to develop what's called the cislunar space. This is the space between the Earth and the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing we have to get around the moon is a GPS system. We don't have it. There are a couple of pathways forward. One is uh, a actual space carrier. It's one ship that contains hundreds of satellites, and the ship can be moved from here. It's being built by a company called Gravitics, which is a privately held company, by the way. You can't buy stock in it. It's going to move from orbit around Earth to orbit around the moon, and then it's going to deploy these satellites, and we will build a GPS system around the moon. We have to have it because we can't land anything remote unless by pure luck on the moon without the GPS. Its gravity is very lumpy. There's a 2 minute delay in the joystick here on Earth and the ship on the moon, so it's almost impossible to land something on the moon remotely. You need a pilot inside the craft, or you need a local GPS system. So that's got to be built first. It's well within our wheelhouse, and we could do it quite easily, either with Starlink or with this gravitics carrier system. So that has to be done first.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'll be done in the next 2 to 3 years. Once that's done, then we can go to uh, the crater, or the what's called the South Arctic Circle, let's call it, around the moon, so people don't get lost in the crazy scientist names we have for it. But there are several large craters on the south pole of the moon that have this helium-3 and water ice frozen down in them, and that's pure energy for the moon. Then we need to build a lunar colony to mine that, package it, and transport it back to Earth. That will take about 20 years to get done. After that, it's the whole solar system opens up to us.
So, if I'm understanding right, what will happen is that this community that is going to be on the moon are going to be the miners, and they're going to mine the helium 3, load it onto spacecraft that return to Earth.
Yeah, well, that's the raw labor part of it. There are a lot of other positions that go with that. And of course, the SpaceX folks and the NASA folks and me, we're having our conversations, and I'm recommending that we do not build this colony on the surface. It just can't work. It's too cold. The sun has a bad day. The base has a bad day. There are volcanic vents, some of them 15 kilometers long, large enough inside to hold the city of Philadelphia. Those can be developed and pressurized to the equivalent of about uh, 8,000 feet, which is a typical ski lodge. And people could wander around on the inside of the moon in a t-shirt and jeans after that. Of course, they'd be 1/6 gravity,
Mm-hmm.
but it'd be way less difficult to operate a colony where no one has to wear a spacesuit inside the moon.
Who owns the moon, and who gives out the rights to which part of the moon someone can actually mine or they can't mine there? And if the moon goes to the first persons that landed on the moon, wouldn't that go to Russia?
Wow, this is a great question. We have it all the time. We've had it since we wrote the Peace in Space Initiative. Gosh, it was way back at the, I don't know, beginning of this century, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even uh, accepted because we've already weaponized space. The first ones there obviously going to have the most rights, and it isn't Russia. It's China. China's kicking everybody's ass
Well, wait
on
a
the moon.
sec. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Wait a sec. Weren't the Russians the first one to actually land on the moon?
But they did not keep the ground.
Well, who?
It has been abandoned by the first, and now China has the technology on the far side of the moon that's far superior to ours. They're the ones that have the high resolution imagery of the entire surface of the moon. And if they had the money,
Mhm.
which I don't think they do, they could definitely take over the moon. And the first one that controls the moon will control the Earth.
Wow. So the race is on.
Yeah, and I used to think for, I don't know, three-quarters of my life that it would be governments that would do this. And it was after the L-Cross mission in 2006. This was a mission that was sent to the moon to analyze the atmosphere of the moon spectrographically. And the ship had problems. It had a leak, lost all its fuel. So its orbit was decaying. It was getting ready to crash into the surface of the moon. Well, when we build these large things, we don't want to have them come back and visit Earth. So we
Hmm.
build sections of it with exploding bolts so that we can break it apart before it gets to Earth into smaller pieces that will burn up in the atmosphere. So what was done is the L-Cross was split in two using the exploding bolts, and it dropped the engine down onto the moon and created a huge plume, like throwing a big stone into a lake, just a big, huge plume of dust.
Hmm.
And then they flew the spectrometer half of it through the plume, analyzed it, sent the information back to Earth, and then that part crashed into the moon. That analysis changed everything. That's where we discovered the helium-3 and the water ice. And it was then that governments kind of lost the arm wrestling match and private industry got involved. The gold rush was on. And so SpaceX and Rocket Labs, and oh gosh, I could name a dozen companies that are really, really thriving off of this effort. The whole Gateway project, which is a multi-trillion-dollar expansive project to develop cislunar space and cis-Mars space, is all based upon that gold rush. And nothing's going to hold it back now. And it's private industry that's going to do it, not governments.
So, what happens if China says, hey, we don't want the United States here? We don't want India here. We don't want the European Union here. What happens then?
Well, obviously, there will be an official struggle for the ground, as there always is in every
Hmm.
frontier. But I don't think China's going to be able to hold the ground. I think that they have become a governmental behemoth. It's been a top-down government for a long, long time, and lots of corruption inside that government. And the Chinese people have had it with it. Their real estate markets have crashed, their banks have crashed, and you can't have 1.2 billion mad people. It just doesn't function. So I don't think they're going to be able to hold the ground.
Right, but if we can't get along here on this planet, how the heck are we going to do it in space? How are we going to do it on the moon?
Also, a discussion we have had at lengths. If you've watched the TV series For All Mankind, it really answers this question of us carrying our human territorialism into space with us, and where that all goes. It really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far we go out in space. We're going to be competitive like this forever.
All right, hypothetically, let's say that, mining on the moon starts. There's different sectors of the moon where different countries are doing their mining.
Yep, and that's probably what's going to happen. And then
Hmm.
that's good because the consumer, which is the population of Earth, approximately 8 billion people, which will go to 10 billion people pretty quickly if we get the energy distributed correctly, uh, they like competition. They get the best deal when you have more than one or two or three companies that are doing the same thing.
Yeah, but take a look at what's happening now with the tariffs. The entire eco-political financial world is in an uproar.
Yeah, but it's not really tariffs. I mean, the tariffs are a tool. The tool is to get countries that have been tariffing the United States to come to the table to renegotiate the trade deals. And it's hard to do because these trade deals have been made by corrupt politicians over decades
Well,
and
wait a sec,
decades.
wait a sec, wait a sec. When we talk about trade deals, what about the trade deal between Canada, Mexico, and the United States that President Trump signed in Trump 1.0 that he's now reneging on? So if he can't keep this trade deal going straight and honest that he signed, you know,
Yeah, it's tough to do because, you know, just between Canada and the US,
mhm,
we have common products. We have dairy products, grain,
yeah.
oil, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, we buy a lot of Canadian products, but not a lot of US products are sold in Canada. And the trade deficit's about $200 billion a year. That's not sustainable. It has to be leveled out, and you can't just protect one country against the other country.
But what
So
I
that's the
go on.
tariffs won't stay.
Yeah, you see, what I'm seeing is that Canada and the other countries are saying, well, screw you. We'll find other ways of getting the products we need, and we'll have free trade with the other countries. So, how is this going to affect the American consumer?
Well, the American consumer is also the American worker. So if you preserve the American company,
Uh huh.
you now have a worker that's earning enough money to buy the American products. And Trump's right. We don't really need anything from any other country. We're totally self-sustainable if we want to be. But we're a global community, and so everybody knows everybody, even the small countries know America is the marketplace. We're the ones who buy stuff.
I don't know. I think the international view of the United States is shifting, and it's not shifting to a very positive place for the United States.
Well, the key word is shifting, and that's always a point of negotiation in government. When it's static, that's when the corruption sets in. And we have the same thing happen in industry. We make
Yeah.
a deal with the supplier, and everything's going great for 2 or 3 years. And then we get into that fourth year and we start doing an audit and we go, wow, they're charging us 3 times what we could get it from some other company. They just take advantage of the relationship. So shifting is good. It is good for the consumer and it's good for the world.
All right, Brooks, stand by. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. And Exo Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Brooks Agnew, his work, his accomplishments, his books, and much more, visit his website at www.brooksagnew.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell, and you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network. Don't go away. We'll be back after this break.
Up until now, I've learned to live without love. She was a good night, like a ship without a sail, wandering aimlessly lost. Time and time again I see a love that seems strong was not meant to be. Broken hearts don't always mend, left too unsure to try love again. But just between you and me, baby, I know how love will be. Just between you and me, always I know how love will be. Just between you and me.
And welcome back, everyone. Our guest this hour is Brooke Agnew, and Brooks's website is brooksagnew.com. Can you take us through your theory on the human body as a resonant system again? And has there been any new research validating it?
Great question. I call the mortal body the biological transducer. It is kind of a peripheral for the soul. It's how we experience the dimension. The body, at least on this planet, is the result of hundreds of thousands of years of contact with viruses and bacteria, temperature fluctuations, and everything on this planet. So that is who we are. The issue is that when we're very young, we're not very self-capable. We don't really step into our mortal body until we're about 9 years of age, and then we do it again at about 19. And then some people grow up from there, and some people don't. But the issue is that we get tricked into thinking that this third dimension, this mortal life, is all there is, and we tend to fall prey to the lower vibration of the third dimension. If we open our minds and we remember who we are, at least what we are, an eternal being having a mortal experience, we begin to raise our vibration. Now, that can go out of sync with the human body for a while, and we kind of feel confused and chaotic, but eventually they begin to synchronize. And the synchronicity of the higher frequency human consciousness, let's call it the subconscious that's becoming conscious, and the human body creates these cymatic patterns. These are resonant patterns in the water that make up the human body, which we're about 70% water. And once that occurs, the body begins to change, or I should say, it begins to align with what our real image of ourselves is. And I would say if we could go back and look at our other incarnations, even on other worlds, we would look very much like what we look like right now, because we enforce our consciousness on the genes in our body that are basically a molecular program that select the proteins that make up this body. And genes have a wide variety of choices they can make for the proteins that actually form the human body, from the bones to the eyelashes. That choice is heavily influenced by the environment. Now, yes, who we live around, what we eat, what temperature zone we live in, that's part of the environment. But the major part of the environment is us, is the spirit within. My brother was chairman of physiology at Johns Hopkins until he retired. And they studied the human genome in twins, thousands of sets of twins from the time they were born to later in life. And what they saw is that these people genetically diverged. Even though they were genetically perfect and identical at birth, they diverged because the environment of the human body was influenced by this spirit within. And the spirit altered the way the physical body was expressing itself.
So when we look at this scientific information that you're talking about, it seems that, or as I'm looking at it, is that if we're talking about reincarnation, if we're talking about a physical or a spiritual experience, are we living in a holodeck? Are we part of the matrix?
In a sense, yes. In a sense, yes. Because this universe, our known universe, the universe that we can see when we look up at the night sky, is made up of protons, just protons. Now, there are electrons that are attracted to the protons, and when they touch, they create neutrons, but it starts with a holographic particle called a proton. Protons are created by stars. Stars are basically the portal through which energy comes, chaotic, gets organized, and comes into this dimension as a proton. It starts with hydrogen, drops in weight down to about iron, and then works its way back up the periodic chart. And the strong molecular forces bind those together to create elements. That proton itself, and we've been studying this at CERN for quite a while. I was just there last September. We've splattered the little beggars apart lots and lots of times. They were doing it when I was there, and I watched it. And we can categorize the subatomic particles that make up a proton, but we can't make a proton. We cannot redo those frequencies and make a proton. But what we do know is that the proton is holographic. So therefore, our entire physical third dimension is holographic, and we are part of that hologram.
If we're part of a hologram, why should we worry about getting energy from the moon since we really don't exist?
Well, define existence.
Well, this third dimension reality that we both seem to be real on this planet. We have to pay our bills. We have to do a lot of things. From the moment we're conceived is the moment we start to die. And if we're all part of a matrix or a holographic existence, why should we worry about anything? Because it really doesn't exist.
Well, you bring up a good point, but in between that time when your mother begins to organize the matter to make your physical body, and the time that you die, we gain experience. And we also are able to write things in what is called the Akashic Record. Only mortals can write in the Akashic Record. It cannot be done in the spirit world. When you stub your toe as a spirit, you feel nothing. You don't want for anything. There's no mystery. There's no desire to learn. You're just static. The mortal existence is where spirits grow, and it is the envy of the universe. The angels envy it. Believe me, what we have, the pathway we're on, is the envy of the universe. The earth is the greatest show in the universe. It is. So there's a lot that goes on between the time our assembly of our peripheral begins and the time we die.
How do we know this is real, Brooks? How do we know we're just not talking about a fantasy that was created in order to give something other than this boring life that a lot of us lead some chutzpah, something to look forward to?
Well, I lecture all the time about this live to audiences who are in that very state that you talk about. And you're right. We do get tricked into thinking it's all about debt and it's all about, working until we can't work anymore and then retiring on
Yeah.
money and then dying. That's the trick of the third dimension. It isn't that way at all. If we could step outside of that, you would see the futility in work and debt and that whole pathway you just described. That's actually what the deception is. We are actually tremendously glorious beings. And the cool thing is that we can bestow our glory on anything or anyone we want.
Brooks, have you been able to step outside and see all this glory?
Many times.
How do you?
I started doing it when I was 9 because I had this weird lost time incident in the Sierra Nevadas, and I developed that skill over my life, and that's why I don't fit into a lot of cliques, because I can see outside of it. And I'm trying to tell everybody about it, and there are others like me on this planet that do the same thing, but you see how far it goes.
But if other people can't see it, how can you present them the evidence to prove that what you're saying is real in order to change their minds and in order for them to see what you see as reality and not just a pipe dream?
Well, I do my best to take them on the journey and take them by the hand and show it to them. And once they see it, then they realize, oh my gosh, I've been on the wrong path all these years, and now I'm going to make a change. And it really changes your whole self-worth. It teaches you the purpose of life.
And what is the purpose of life? I think that is one of the questions that mankind has been searching for ever since recorded history, and if not way before that.
Well, of course, it's to reach the fullness of your glory, the fullness of your abilities. But we can't always do that. We're born in slavery, we're born in oppression, we're born in poverty, but we can do what we can do to hand it on to the next generation. I look at a lot of families that are struggling right now because they're the first generation that's really trying to earn something more than just hand to mouth. You can't, I mean, it is rare. It can happen. You can be successful to the point where you don't have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. But typically that takes generations. And that means that you have to look beyond a single lifetime, a single generation. You have to hand your wealth on to the next generation, your children or your grandchildren or your nephews or nieces. And once that's done, you begin to see the development of the human race. It's what we're witnessing right now.
So this journey that you take people on to see what you've seen and to experience what you've experienced, how do you do that?
It's not easy. It takes music, it takes vibration, it takes a skill that it's difficult to explain, how I see what I see and how I can put it into words to help you see it as well. And once you see it, once you grasp that vision for the first time, you really change your level of hope for your mortal life.
I'm trying to understand that, and I'm trying to appreciate it.
Well, I'm trying not to speak in word salad too. There's a lot of people in my genre that do speak in word salad and lead a lot of people astray, or lead them to what I call parking places.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. What I want to do is teach people that there are skills you have to develop in order to step out of this physical life. Not You have to realize that what you can see with your eyes and what you can hear with your ears and what you can analyze with the incredible spectrometer you have in your mouth is only a very, very small part of the universe. And it does not mean that the rest of the universe doesn't exist. It just means that you need additional senses to be able to see those things.
Stand by, Brooks. You and I have to take our final break. Exonation. Brooks Agnew is our guest. Website www.brooksagnew.com. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. You're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
Broken hearts don't always mend. Left too unsure to try love again. But just between you and me, baby, I know how love will be. Just between you and me. The light shines down the valley, the wind blows up the alley. Oh, and I wish I was lying in the arms of Mary. She took the pains of boyhood and turned them into feel good. Oh, and I wish I was lying in the arms of Mary. Mary was the girl that taught me all I had to know. She put me right on the first mistake. Summer wasn't gone and I learned all she had to show. She really gave all a boy could take, yeah. So now when I get lonely.
Welcome back, everyone. Brooks Agnew is our special guest this hour. www.brooksagnew.com. Are you still an advocate for the Hollow Earth theory, Brooks?
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as hollow earth theory, but there is hollow earth hypothesis. And that is that we hypothesize that planets can form as hollow spheres and not as solid balls. There are a couple ways of thinking about this. One is the accretion disk thought pattern, and that is that planets are formed by large swirling masses of dust that slowly collapse and through conservation of momentum spin faster and faster, and they form planets. As they collapse into a molten ball, they tend to cool and expand and cool and expand, and as they do, they slow down. And if you run a quick thought experiment, like if you and I were sitting in an elevator here on the surface and that shaft went to the center of the earth and we were standing on bathroom scales here on the surface and we hit the down button, what do you think the scale would do when we reach the center?
We'd be heavier.
Actually, we would be zero.
Really?
Because all the mass of the earth would be above us. It would be like standing at the North Pole. Everywhere is south. So if that's the case, if there's no gravity, which Isaac Newton would agree with me, Newtonian physics, then there's no force to create a solid ball. There is a force to create a thick-walled sphere, and the sphere can leave behind a solid metallic ball in the center. And of course, the center is going to spin fast, and as the crust slows down around the outside, like an ice skater letting her arms out, she's going to slow down. The crust slows down, and so there's a counter rotation between the metallic core and the metallic crust, and you get a magnetosphere. Not all planets have it. Mars doesn't have it. Moon doesn't have it. Earth has it. and so it can maintain an atmosphere and protect the surface against solar radiation. Uh, so that means that there's space between the core and the inside of the crust. That's the hypothesis. So what we have been doing for the last, I don't know, 20 years or so in earnest is to conduct experiments to gather data to prove or disprove that hypothesis. And where we are now, it tends to support the idea that planets form as hollow spheres. What we have to do to finally prove or disprove this is find the opening through the crust that reaches the inside of the crust, because there should be another ocean in there. We have gathered seismic data that proves there's another ocean the size of the Arctic Ocean on the inside of the crust. We just need to gather further data. If there are two oceans, there are two chemistries, two different sets of sea life, as it were. And somewhere these two oceans blend. And so what we're going to try to do is put together an expedition to go above the Arctic Circle and see if we can find that sea vent. Now, it's in 14,000 feet of water. Not going to be very easy to find, but we think it can be found.
What do you make of the Pentagon's slow disclosure of UAPs, Brooks?
There is a strong contingent of scientists and non-scientists out there that believe that governments have all the evidence about UAPs and that they're hoarding it and they don't want to share it with the people because somehow it will reduce their power or frighten us or something like that. I'm not one of those believers. I think that governments do have information that they're not sharing with the people, which leads me to believe that these are not inanimate objects. There are intelligences involved with these UAPs. And when I asked the simple binary question, if I was on a congressional panel, it would shake the world. I would ask a simple question: where are they from, and why are they here? If you can answer those two questions, we can go a long way to getting this issue solved. The latter question, why are they here, has two questions that go with it. Are the aliens or the ETs or the off-worlders, are they working with our governments only, or are our governments working with them? There are two different answers now. If our governments are working with them, what are they trading to them for the technology that they're getting from the ETs to the off-worlders? They're trading us, right? They're giving them us, the common people. But if the aliens or the ETs or off-worlders are working with our governments, and I believe they have been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, then this superior intelligence is probably responsible for our world condition right now.
All right, we were talking about, well, first of all, these ETs, if we're to take them as being here, would have to be more highly advanced in order to traverse time, space, and anything else that they do that our present technology doesn't allow us to do. If this
That's a very reasonable assumption, yes.
Okay, if that's the case, why do we have to go to the moon in order to get the energy to keep us going for all the years that we were talking about earlier? Because if these ETs can, in fact, do everything that they're believed to do, why don't they just help us?
Well, that's a good question. Go back to Christopher Columbus. So Christopher Columbus is an explorer. He gets the funding. He comes to the Americas, and what does he discover? He discovers Native Americans. And the Native Americans were basically scattered all across in different tribes all across the land. But what were they doing? What were they actually doing? Well, they were riding across the tundra at each other and killing each other for millennia. Why? Why were they doing that? Not enough buffalo, not enough trout, not enough berries. Why were they doing that? Because their gods told them to do it. So I maintain that the ETs have been here since man has been here. And if they wanted to take over the world, it would have been a lot easier to do when we were just shooting arrows and rocks at each other. We have pretty powerful weapons now. I believe they have kept us at odds with one another, killing each other for hundreds of millennia
Why?
because that's a good question. I think they actually thrive on it. I think it's their mission to step into this creation and cause us to lose our souls by hating one another instead of loving one another.
But if we go back to an earlier part of this conversation where we said where we talked about this third dimension that we're in being a matrix, a hologram, how can we say in one part of an interview that this is not real, and then later on in the interview talk about ETs who are manipulating us to kill ourselves when we're not really real?
I didn't say it wasn't real. I said it was a trick. I said it was a trick of the third dimension to have us believe that the purpose of our life is to fill our garage with toys and then retire and in some relative ease of pain until we die. That's the great trick of this dimension. We need to realize that is not our purpose, and we have a higher purpose, and that is to expand and grow our knowledge of who we are and who we can become.
But if we expand our knowledge to understand who we are and what we can become, what does that do to the ETs that are trying to get us to kill each other off for their own amusement because they've got nothing better to do?
It infuriates them, and I, for one, am ready for them to leave. We can take it from here.
Either that or they destroy us because we're no longer of any use to them.
Well, bring it on. Let's get it done.
But we don't have the technology. Like we can't
Well-
even, we're still in a state of solid rocket fuel. We're in this, like if these guys go in and out of the time-space continuum, what the hell are we supposed to do? Throw rocks at them?
No, we use our consciousness. I can just tell you we are very formidable when we are united. When we are divided, when we're diversified, we are weak and defeatable. When we are united, we are the most powerful beings in the universe, and we participate in the creation.
It's great to think that we are unbeatable. I love that thought. I really do. And it would be wonderful for us all to get together and fight the common cause. But history shows us that we can't. History has taught us. Now, whether this is because we don't understand the consciousness that we're able to get to, I really don't think that we can unite. Gosh, we can't even decide on a government without voting. So what are we supposed to do? Take a vote on whether or not we're going to come together and become this one major force or not? I don't see it happening.
Voting is our form of rebellion now. That's how we're built on rebellion. We're built on revolution. So we have our revolution at the ballot box now. But I get what you're saying, that you really don't think we can do it. I think we can. And when it comes to history, who gets to write it?
The victors
get to write it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, but we're not talking about equality here, where the both sides are basically at the same level of development. We're talking about, here you've got planet Earth, where we're still using rockets to go up and down and to circle the planet, and we're now we're looking at mining on another planet, and yet I can't see us going against a force, if it really does exist, because I'm not too sure on this whole UFO, UAP hypothesis, where we are going to take these invaders or these guardians or these whatever they are on with our limited technology.
Well, we breed like rabbits, and they don't.
How do we know that?
Well, it's true. I mean, we look up any given day and we see UFOs, but we also live in a sea of viruses and bacteria. We're built for this planet. They are not.
Then how come they have survived so long?
I don't know the answer to that question. Obviously, they have some kind of environment that they can create for themselves that allows them to stay
Brooks,
alive on this planet.
I hate to do this, but you and I have run out of time for tonight. I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you join us back here in the X Zone. Take care, my good friend.
Absolutely.
X Zone Nation, Brooks Agnew has been my guest. BrooksAgnew.com, and hour number 2 of the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, starts right now.